Hi, this is Brad Linder with Liliputing, and this little box is actually a desktop computer called the Chewy Larkbox. Chewy is a Chinese company that makes small computers, including tablets and little laptops and other devices, but this is probably the smallest desktop the company has made, and really it's one of the smallest desktop computers from any company that I am aware of. So it's measured just about 2.4 inches square by 1.7 inch, so 2.4, 2.4, 1.7 inch. And as you can see, it's something that really, fits in the palm of your hand like this. But it's a full-fledged Windows 10 computer, and it's also capable of running alternate operating systems. So I've actually got it set up right now to dual boot between Windows 10 and Ubuntu 20.04. Under the hood, it has an Intel Celeron J4115 quad-core processor. That's a 10-watt Intel Gemini Lake refresh chip with Intel UHD 600 graphics. Also has 6 gigs of LPDDR4 memory and 128 gigs of eMMC flash storage. It's not the speediest storage, but it's a reasonable amount. And if you really wanted to upgrade the storage, you could remove these 4 feet here, open it up, and you actually have access to an M.2 2242 slot, so you can actually add an SSD for faster storage or more storage. I don't happen to have one handy, so I wasn't able to test that, but it's a nice option to have. Ports, we've got USB Type-C, 2 USB 3.0 Type-A ports, and an HDMI port, and a micro SD card slot and a headset jack. Now that USB port is for power, so it comes with this power brick, which is almost bigger than the computer itself, and it just sort of plugs in right there. When I tried using this with a USB hub, so it should support pass-through power, and it does with other computers, I couldn't get it to work. Basically, I can't plug this into a hub and then the hub into here and draw power. So that port is pretty much just for power. I don't know if it supports data, but at least with the hardware that I haven't been able to use it. So you've got these 2 USB ports for just about everything else except for audio and video. There's a fan underneath, so there's a little ventilation there, and it looks like maybe an air intake there. The fan's not super loud. It does get audible at times, but it's even under heavy load, it's not too loud. And the system doesn't really get too uncomfortably hot. It's not something that you're going to hold like a laptop or a tablet, so even if it does get warm, as long as it doesn't exceed its thresholds, it should be fine. But now on the bottom, you might have noticed, in addition to these 4 screws, there's also a couple of additional slots or screw holes, and that's so you can attach these little guys and hook it up to a VESA mount, so you can actually hang it off the back of a TV or display. So I'll show you what that looks like, and then I'll plug it in and turn it on and show you a little bit of performance. You'll be able to find more performance notes at liliputing.com, where I've run benchmarks and other tests. But let's go ahead and bring a monitor up here and show you that it comes with this sort of half-sized VESA mount, and I can actually just slide that in there, and it just sort of hangs off the side, so you have access to all the ports and everything, and you can turn around the TV and you won't have to see it at all. It's small enough that you could also easily just sort of place it under TV or under your desk or anywhere else. But let's go ahead and do this for now, just to keep it out of the way. And I'll plug in power and monitor and a couple of other things. All right, so I'm going to plug in mouse. This is actually a Bluetooth mouse, but since I have 2 operating systems on here, I didn't want to pair it with both of them. Here's a wireless keyboard dongle, power, and the monitor. I'm going to flip it around, press the power button, and you'll see the LED light come on. And let's do Windows first. And let's see, clean the screen a little bit the lens while we focus. Oop. Usually that works a little bit better than that. All right, so we've got Windows up and running, and I just want to show you a couple of things real quick here. I use this for a complete workday at one point, and it works reasonably well. It's a little bit slower maybe than my laptop, but I know a lot of people probably aren't looking for this as a general purpose computer. They're probably more likely to be using it for, say, a media streamer. So I want to show you that, well, I've got it plugged into a 1080p screen here. We can play 4K video, no problem, streaming over the internet. So again, you can see that's set to 4K, 60 frames per second, works just fine. Of course, you can use it for just about anything else. So, seems to think that we lost our connection. There we go. So we can do a little web surfing here. Do some image editing. And just, you know, general multitasking. You can see we've got 4 processor cores and 4 processor threads. I probably should have loaded GIMP earlier because this is my first boot here. I will tell you, I actually just reinstalled Windows shortly before shooting this video because I had previously accidentally wiped Windows when I was testing Ubuntu. So I had a bunch of applications that were up and running previously, lost a few of them. But yeah, so you can see here, again, it's got 6 gigs of RAM. Right now it's using about half of it. Opened a bunch of browser tabs and it definitely goes up beyond that. But in terms of multitasking, in terms of performance, it's not the fastest. It is, again, a 10-watt Celeron processor, but it comes close enough in performance to what I would expect from well, really a sort of a low-end Windows laptop, that for $200 for a desktop that's this small, it doesn't really bother me much at all. The last thing I'll show you before we reboot into Linux is a little bit of gaming. Now you can find benchmarks and other information at Liliputing, but here I just wanted to load a game called Amnesia because it's a little bit of a 3D game and you can see how it looks. This is not a system I would necessarily recommend for gaming, but if you're going to do it, it performs better in Windows than Linux. And you'll see here that we can get around 20-25 frames per second while we're playing this, which makes it roughly playable. Actually, the frames rates are a little bit lower than the last time I played this game, but around 18 right now, 23, 21. So, could be smoother, but it's kind of playable. Anyways, like I said, not really ideal for gaming, but if you're going to do it, you're going to be better off in Windows than Ubuntu, at least with the out-of-the-box experience, because I found that the same game gets much lower frame rates if we're running Linux. So let's show you, though, that most of the things do actually work out of the box with Linux. So I'm going to go ahead and restart the computer. And this time we'll choose Ubuntu from the grub bootloader menu. And so I've got, again, these both installed to, losing focus. These are both installed to the built-in storage. And even with eMMC storage, they boot relatively quickly, so that's nice. I'm going to go ahead and show you the video and the game again, but I will point out of the box that if I unplug this mouse, it should, well, it should still work. It's not, oh, I have to adjust the button here, that's why. It should still work because I have it set up for Bluetooth. So Bluetooth is working, Wi-Fi is working, graphics are working, and in fact, if I open a terminal and type glxinfo.b, it shows UHD 600 graphics, it shows hardware acceleration is working, but when we go ahead and try and play that same video again, it's fine at 720p here. Let's try to get to roughly the same spot in the video. Oh, you know what? This is only a 720p version of the video. So at 4K, it's having a difficult time even loading. Playback's a little choppier. If we switch to 1080p, it's fine, but 4K is not great. So again, the hardware accelerated graphics are technically working in Ubuntu, but they just don't seem to work quite as well. Likewise, I was able to install Steam. It took a little bit of work. There were some missing components, but I eventually got them up and running. But if I load Amnesia on Steam, you'll see that the frame rates are even lower than they were in Windows, making it a little bit less playable. So, you know, if you wanted to make this into a Linux media center, maybe you'd want to have to tinker a little bit more and maybe see if you can do something with the graphics drivers. But under Windows, it works reasonably well. Here we go. And even the mouse is sort of lagging a little bit here. In fact, let me plug it in and see if that helps at all. Okay, so now we're at 6 frames, 13 frames. We're in that same room, but at 12 frames per second, everything looks much, much choppier. And it just makes it a little bit less pleasant to play a game like this. Getting a pretty consistent 12 frames per second right now. So that's just a quick look at gaming. Overall, I think it's a great little computer, especially given the price. It's not the most capable machine, but for $200, it does pretty much what you would want it to if you were going to use it for playing videos, if you're going to use it as a file server, or even a general purpose computer if you're just looking for something that's small and easy to keep out of the way, maybe something for a kid to use. If you did want to use it for media playback, you could definitely install something like Kodi, and it works pretty well with that. I haven't really configured this, but you can see that the interface is nice and easy. So overall, that's it's a pretty neat little device that's going to be available for under $200 starting June 23rd with an Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign, and you can find more details at Liliputing. This is Brad Linder with Liliputing and the Chewy Lark Box.